So the off season was full of good news and bad news. Frankly, most of it bad. The transfer window was brutally long and really, really short on quality players I could bring in for the amount of money I had. Part of me feels I still overspent for a couple of them, and I still got a decent amount of my transfer budget left and a decent amount of payroll left as well. But yeah, I think this season in La Liga is going to be tougher than last one. My name's FM20. It's time to get real. Now, I realize this here is probably confusing to a lot of people. Why are we looking at the Egyptian national team schedule? And there's a reason for this, and it has to do with ScreenFlow. One of the things I do on ScreenFlow, and I don't have it enabled right now because it screwed up last episode. I think I know what happened, and I'm tempted to try enabling a couple of things again to see what happens. As a result, I'm going to be saving this a little bit more than I usually do. Usually I save every 4 to 5 episodes, or every 4 to 5 games. Now I'll probably save every other game. But one of the things I love about ScreenFlow is you'll get results from national teams and national competitions, and they'll highlight players with basic stats. And one of the things I looked at was key tackles, key headers, and defensive stats like that. And one name popped out at me from these 3 games right here. So this is the African national qualifiers. And if you look, you might see who I'm talking about. Now, if we go back to the national teams here, this is the national senior squad. And you will also notice, if you are keen-eyed and have good vision, and keen-eyed and good vision are the exact same thing, this, Amir Marhous and Karim Hafetz, are their starting defensive left backs on the national squads. And they're not bad. Hafez in particular is decent, but on their under-23 squad is this guy right here, Essam Mahmoud, 18 years old. In his last 5 games for the Egyptian team, he had a 7.16, 2 appearances, 1 assist, 1 player of the match. Except those are the stats on our squad here. Until this season started, those were a little bit different. I saw him, I scouted him. This is what he is. And frankly, I think that this is a photo from the Regen Pack, and I think it's really, really appropriate. 18 years old, 3-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. Physically, he is this good already. His lowest number is a 12, and that's for balance. 14 acceleration, 13 pace, 14 stamina, 15 strength. Technically, solid where it counts. The crossing's a little bit low. I can work on that. Dribbling is okay. He's great at marking. He's good at passing. His tackling and technique are also good. Mentally, the aggression is nice. The bravery is brilliant. The anticipation and composure are average. His off the ball could really use some work. I'm trying to work on that. His determination is mid-level. Teamwork, work rate, they're not bad. But again, 18 years old. This guy is going to be the next Dani Alves, or pick any one of numerous bad left backs you've seen in football over the years. And I'm really hoping he's Dani Alves, because I paid 6.25 million euros for him. So, the transfer budget, I don't want to say we got FM'd. There were a couple of oddities that happened, and then I got completely blindsided, and that was my own fault. And we're going to take a look at that here. So the one thing I didn't get, I'm going to switch over here to the left side. The one thing I didn't get this offseason was a loan manager, which is really kind of a pain when you consider I've got 21 players out on loan. We had an extreme overhaul of the coaching staff and the scouting staff, and I will highlight that here too. But first, on the ends, Eric Majeshak, and I'm fairly sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential ability, deep line playmaker in the midfield, can also play some advanced midfielder, solid mentally, solid physically, solid technically. Not a real weak spot in his game, other than maybe his marking is a little bit low and his tackling, but I brought him in to be a deep line playmaker. So far, he's done a nice job for us. After that, Rabbi Matondo from FC Nuremberg, 5 million euros going up to 5.75. FC Nuremberg made him available. I looked at him and thought, I was going to let Karamoko go. I needed a replacement for Karamoko. I thought I had Giada, and then I realized, well, I'm not bringing back Yardi. I can move Giada over to the left, and I need somebody over here on the right, and that is Rabbi Matondo. He had a very good preseason for us, as you can see, 6 appearances, 4 goals, 5 assists. Since the season started, he's trying to find his place, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. Quick, pacey, decent stamina, technically really good. 11 crossing, 14 dribbling. The 11 passing and 12 technique are adequate. Mentally, he's not bad. There's no real weaknesses there. 3.5-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. I think he will grow into the role. And he's Welsh, which, okay. I didn't realize that before. But, he started out in the youth system in Manchester a few years ago. Got sold to Schalke. Didn't really do anything. They loaned him out, and then he came back, and we picked him up. Or Nuremberg picked him up on a free. He had an okay season for them. He had the 9 assists, which I liked. And then we turned around and bought him for $5 million. And then Assam Mahmoud from Pyramid, 6.25 million going up to 9.75 million based on international appearances. We just took a look at this kid. I really think he can be someone special. I think 4-5 years down the road, when he's 23, 24 years old, he will easily be 4-star 5 potential. If not 5-star 5 potential. He's 6'3", 190 pounds. If he doesn't grow into that role, I will be very, very surprised. We were really active on the frees. Frank Campos, I think I may have highlighted last year. He is my young Peruvian winger. 2-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. My scout in South America found. Again, this is FM being FM. He will actually see some time starting at right winger, and I swear I just set this up and it defaulted back. I suspect in a couple years he will be contributing greatly. Thomas, I should know the outs first to get to Thomas Nalika. We will come back to Thomas Nalika. We will go over here on the outs first. Okay, so all the guys I have highlighted are out on loan. I brought in a new general manager who is really, really good. We'll take a look at him in a minute. At the end of last season, I took all my players off of loan availability. At the beginning of this season, I went back through again. I made them all available for loan. I set the minimum requirements I wanted on them, and my general manager took care of everything else. It's like he's my loan manager, which, because I don't have a loan manager, is great. Seila Hospitalet is our second affiliate. They're also down on the Segunda B. They're a solid squad. 3-star training facilities, star-and-a-half youth facilities. Their finances are insecure, but they're professional. I sent my guy. I picked them out of the options available to me because they had the best training facilities. Their training facilities are better than ours, for crying out loud. So, getting down on the outs. First out, Abubakar Karamoko went to Mallorca. He just wasn't going to be a contributor here this year, I didn't feel. We made a little bit of money on him. We sold him for more than we bought him, which is good. He was solid for us the 2 seasons he was here. He was a panic buy. I'll be the first to admit it. And with Giada in and a couple other players, we just didn't need him anymore. He was down to 2.5-star current ability, 2.5-star potential ability. Marcus McGuane. A couple teams came and made an offer for him, and he ended up going to Chievo Verona for 875 million euros. Good God. 875,000 euros. I mean, yes, he's the Swiss Army knife of players, but he's not going to get paid like he's really that good. Serie BKT. They are... Serie BKT. Oh, they're a Serie B team. So, and Shamrock Rovers still want him. Well, oddly enough, when I made him available, Shamrock Rovers wasn't interested. For a guy we picked up on a free, we turned around and sold him for 875,000 euros. I'm okay with that. He was solid for us last season. He did what I expected him to do. Let me go back to the right page here. He started quite a few games. He came off the bench. He contributed. This was where we got completely screwed. Alavis came and made an offer for $1.2 million for Valentin Raboui, and that met his release clause. And so the board said, yeah, we'll let him go. And nothing I did could convince them to let him stay. We would not have finished where we finished if it weren't for Valentin last year. I was already panicked because, well, we'll get to that here in a second. Alvaro Sanz went to Tenerife for 1.5 million euros. I just think he had topped out. He wasn't getting any better. He wasn't getting any worse. I promised him a new contract, and he wanted 19,500 euros a year for a guy who's 3-star current ability, 3-star potential ability, who wasn't going to get any better. Yeah, he won Player of the Match last year, and he was our Youth Player of the Year. And we got him on a free. We sold him for 1.5 million euros. He had several good seasons for us, but he just wasn't worth the money he wanted. Because, I mean, he's getting 4,800 euros a week right now playing for Tenerife. On the outs, let me go here. On the released players, Angel de la Calzada left. I don't believe he got picked up. Nope. Albert Tindero, Arthur Sagado, Fran Delgado, Mohamed Mizian. Those are probably and Javi Angulo all left. Famara Diallo was a very good young keeper who he never really put it together. He had a season last year with Adarve that was absolutely brilliant for them. He helped them, I want to say, their 3rd Division Group 7. I mean, he helped them to a 3rd place finish last year. He was their full-time keeper. He had, 38 appearances, 18 goals allowed, 25 shutouts, set a new 3rd Division record, and yet, even after I let him go, they didn't want to re-sign him. As a matter of fact, if we go back here and say, where are they now? And then we go here. I think Mizian, none of them have been picked up. If they have, I certainly haven't seen anything. So, I mean, they're all available. Loan-wise, we got 3 players in. Pietro Bruni from Lazio. Needed some help on the midfield. He was the best available who was willing to come here that I didn't have to pay his entire... Well, I had to pay his entire salary, but his entire salary is only 4,300 euros. There's a guy at Milan who is maybe a little bit better than him in a lot of areas, and Milan wanted me to pay all 24,000 euros of his starting salary. I was like, no, hell no. So 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential ability, really good deep line playmaker. Also does the other roles very, very well. Levian Gini from Bayern. I needed some help on the defensive back line, and I went looking and found him. 3.5-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability. Solid physically, okay mentally, technically not the best, but he's good where it counts as a defensive center back. And then Branimir Zelik from Dinamo Zagreb. I needed some help on the advanced midfield line. I needed a guy who could play a little bit of everywhere. He's not a natural right or a natural left winger, but he's accomplished at both places. 3-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. Cheap. We're paying his salary, but it's 750 euros a week, and I am okay with that. So, getting back to the ins. So, Valentin Raboui left, and Tomas Nedolica, who I poached from Vitkovice, my scout there found him, is now my starting keeper. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential ability, and really, he is not all that bad. If I compare him to Raboui, Valentin's better in the air and a little bit better in distribution. Nedolica hasn't beat or equaled everywhere else except speed. So, I'm thinking the drop-off might not be too great. I mean, they're both sweeper keepers. He's done a job for us so far. Liam Alves is a youth player I brought in to help on the under-19 squad. I needed bodies. I loaned all my good players out because I knew they were going to get first-team playing time. Almost all these players who are loaned out are squad players or starters. There's not a lot of fringe players among them. One of the things I was able to do was I would put them out on loan. All the offers would come back, and then my new general manager would accept all of them. But I would have you have the opportunity, even though he's accepted them, you have the opportunity to click on the little red X and say no. And so they won't consider that. David Alonso is now my backup keeper, 20 years old, 2-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. He is going to get some starts in the cup games, I think. I think that's what I promised him. He's a little bit better physically, and that's about it. They're good in the air. I suspect going down the road, if something were to happen in Italy, he would be an adequate replacement. But I think one of the things that's going to happen this offseason, assuming we stay up, is I'm going to look for a quality keeper. And if I had to pay a decent amount of money to get him, I will. I thought I had a line on a younger guy overseas, and then he ended up going for a ton more money than I was willing to spend. So Paul Valverde, another youth player, filling in on the under-19s. Jose Alberto Pascual, also another youth player filling in on the under-19s. And then we talked about Livian Gini and Branimir Zelik. So looking at the coaching staff increased and the recruitment staff increased. Our under-19, you know what, we're going to go to the under, let's go here, and then the under-19 staff. And then I think, it's not going to let me, it's not, you can't do here what you do on the other one. Well, maybe if I go back to the, no. So this is the coaching staff as it exists now. Almost everybody here is new this season. Except Matt Gott, he's still here. Timo Sherman is my new head of youth development. I brought him in because player ability, player potential is nice. His working with youngsters is nice. He's a good motivator, good management. He's really good at everything. If I wanted him to be a coach, he could have probably stepped up and be a coach. Vertical tiki-taka, 4-2-3 wide, passing style. What am I looking at here? Leadership. He's a perfectionist, which could be a little bad. But I'm hoping we can at least get some better potential players in. It's cost me a pretty penny, 97, well, almost 10,000 euros a week, but I think he was worth it. He's definitely a step up from the person I had before. Anyone else new in? Nope. We're solid across the board in terms of coaching comparisons. I mean, we're better than all the other clubs, apparently. So, I'm doing something right there. Scouting-wise, Christoph Frund is my new general manager. I brought him in mostly because of his ability and potential judging and his negotiating, good man management, decent motivator, and decent adaptability as well. Only knows Austria, doesn't know English yet, comes to us from Red Bull Salzburg. So he's done a really good job for me so far, and when I went to him for help with finding some loan players and stuff like that, he is the one who recommended me the German players that I brought in, which kind of sort of makes sense. We got a new chief scout in, Luis Casas. I'm not exactly thrilled with him. I brought him in because he knows Spain more than anything else. He was my last hire. My other scout I tried bringing back. His contract expired, and my other scout wanted a ton more money. But as you can see down here, this is kind of cool. This is how I set up my scouts. So Roberto, 16 ability, 14 potential, South America and Switzerland. Jacek is a Polish scout, 17 ability, 14 potential, Poland, Germany, the Baltic states. Xavier Tamaret, who is probably my best scouting pickup, 16 ability, 18 potential, Spain and Britain. Cicero. And this is something I like to try and do as the team gets bigger and we get up into bigger leagues. Try and bring scouts in from different areas of the world. Even if they're not the best scouts in terms of potential and ability, the knowledge that they have of where they're from is really going to kind of come in handy. Cicero is Guinea-Bissau and Portugal. Guinea-Bissau is actually, you're not going to see it lit up on here. I believe it's a country on the west coast, in Western Africa. So when I go to more world scouting, I can send him to West Africa. And the reason I picked him up is because in addition to the 13 ability and 13 player potential, he's got a 15 adaptability and a 14 determination, which means he will learn the new countries he's in faster. And frankly, there are a lot of good youth players and young players you can poach from African teams for cheap. As long as you have the spots for them on your roster, depending on what your registration rules are and stuff like that, there are some absolute steals. As you can see at the moment, he's in the Netherlands scouting. Excuse me. Dario Simic is a name I recognize, and I'm not quite sure why. 14 ability, 70%, 17 potential, Yugoslavia, and, well, I call it Yugoslavia. Frankly, and I'm sorry if this upsets a few people, but as you can see, he knows the former Yugoslavian countries fairly well. Or he has at least some knowledge of them. Let me see here. That's why I know him. He was a player for Croatia. Good grief. Bogdan Petrushku is from Romania. I needed a scout for Eastern Europe, and essentially that's him. 13 ability, 17 potential, 14 adaptability, 12 determination. I found, especially when you're sending scouts out to countries that are not familiar with, if they have a good adaptability and they have good determination, or decent adaptability, decent determination, they will learn the countries faster. And the scouting reports you will get back from that person in those countries is going to be a lot better. Josip Kalina, 16 ability, 13 potential, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Eastern Europe, for Switzerland for some reason, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and some of the other former Yugoslavian countries. Again, 12 adaptability, 10 determination, which is about, I like players with double-digit determination. I'll take an 8 or a 9 if I really have to. That's why I moaned so much about Tendio, because I just shot myself in the foot with that. 16 ability, 13 potential ability. They're all decent scouts. And then we updated our physios too. Our old physios had, 10s and 12s. Now I got a physio who's an 18 and another 18. I think my head physio is only a 14 though. No, my head physio is a 20. That's right. I got Berzik in. So we are becoming a polyglot coaching staff. I have one Spanish coach, Jean Carlos Balaguer, who was really good. A couple of Spanish scouts. Oh, I got 2 Spanish coaches. Okay. Perez and Celis. Okay. And, it's we're going to have to do what we need to do to get ahead. So, and that means out coaching them and out scouting them. And seeing as how much time I spent on scouting this offseason. Holy frick. So, as my daughter likes to say, bless her. And if I go to my scouting part right here, the transfer budget, we still got $4.6 million in the transfer budget. Payroll budget left is $33.85. I went to an upper tier Europe package and a middle tier Central Europe package, but I'm still getting reports. I've got one scout who's over in South America. I've got another scout in Eastern Europe and stuff like that. I might have to pay a little bit more to get scouting reports from them, but the one-time hit for spending 1,200 euros to go scout a player is worth it as opposed to spending. Yeah, the difference is 4,000 a month almost, and it gets even worse when you go to the youth players. There's a 12,000 euro difference. So for the most part, my scouts cover everything, if not adequately, decently. So. And they did a really good job finding us some nice players. And, the thing is, a lot of them were nice. We took a look at Matteo Tremoni. We could have paid for him, but he wanted 16,000 euros as a starting salary. I scout mostly youth players. The recommendations that come across, 9 times out of 10, if they're 30 or older, I will just go ahead and discard them, depending on if they're a position I need or if they're something I'm looking to get some solid backup on. I might sign them. I've done that before with like Banda and things like that. So I generally keep scouting. Usually the scores are good enough. Sometimes they're a little off. I know the first time I scouted Mahmoud, he came back as 67, but the more I scouted him, the more his grade went up, which is one of the other big reasons I brought him in. If I go back to him really quick. No, it's probably not going to have his scouting report on here because he is on our squad. So when I first started scouting him, his number was a 67, and then it went up to 70 something, and then it topped out about like 82, 83, if I remember correctly. And frankly, for a 18-year-old, 6'3", 190-pound Egyptian Dani Alves, who's already got 3 starts for the senior squad in Egypt, and they're not exactly they're not exactly a slouch nation. We're doing okay. So, preseason wise, we didn't. I scheduled a decent amount of games and spread them out, and we did fairly well. Villarreal beat us, but we beat Real Madrid Castilla. We beat Elche. Terrassa is our affiliate team. We beat them handily. Against Conquense and Majahonda, we did really well. We got the league started off against Valencia. Yeah, it was. Yeah, they got a goal right before the end of the first half. Just basically threw everything all into a fritz. 21 shots, 10 on target for them. 15 and 7 for us. We were okay. Netalica had a really good first game. He made some very nice saves, but we couldn't hold on to the draw. Yada equalized, and I thought we were doing okay. And I made a couple changes not too long. Or I made a tactical change, and literally like 30 seconds after the change went into effect, Gomez scored. So, and then against Cadiz, our bogey team, we beat them 2-0 thanks to goals by Ja and Ruiz. We had 14 shots, 8 on target, a decent possession advantage. They had 12 and 6. Mahmoud, player of the match. 2 chances created, 2 key passes, 1 assist. It was a beautiful assist. So he's definitely earning his money for the moment. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. The goal this year, less yellow cards than we got last year. So far, I want to say we're off to a good start. I think we only have the 3 here. We can check on that. No, we got 4. We must have gotten a yellow card in the first match. So we're early in the season. The transfer window ends today. We're participating, but we're not participating. And then I thought we'd do the game against Espanyol, but you know what? This episode has run kind of long. Even after editing, it's probably going to be 25-ish minutes. So what we are going to do is end this episode here, and then we're going to come back and play Espanyol and Leganes. And the Espanyol is going to be tough. They are in... Let me check the schedule here this year. They're playing Europa League ball. They won the Copa del Rey last year, so they're playing Europa League against Baník Ostrava, Roma, and Borussia Mönchengladbach. I can almost sort of say that. The 3 years I spent in Germany is almost kind of worth it. So, I'd be interested in what you guys think of the transfer window. Did we come out ahead? Did we come out behind? Did we really hurt ourselves? I do know the one thing I did do, and this is kind of sort of intentionally. That's my B squad. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go unavailable here because they just played. That's my B squad. The guys who are in orange are out on loan. A couple quality players there who don't qualify for the under-19s. I could probably register them and bring them up if I wanted to. Actually, I should probably do that with Cesar Bernier. Let me do that here real quick if I can. This is my B squad. Met God, my assistant coach, is responsible for them. They play a lot of friendlies. They get a lot of games in. They stay mostly healthy. This is my under-19 squad, and I have a propensity of doing this. Everybody in orange is out on loan, so if I go unavailable, that's my under-19 squad. So the B squad and the under-19 squad tend to play a lot of games together. I had a bunch of youth players in on freeze and stuff like that, and all of them were horrible. So, you know, for the time being, if I end up playing a lot of youth games with a lot of grayed out players, I end up playing with a lot of grayed out players. Now, the downside also is that with everybody I have out on loan, my main squad isn't all that big. And frankly, that's kind of a good thing because you're only allowed 25 players you can register in La Liga, 3 of which can be keepers, and 3 of those 25 can be non-EU. I've got 2 on my squad right now, and Mahmoud and Campos. So the desire to carry a lot of players while there, it's not going to work. You know, I used to carry 30, 35, sometimes 40 players on my rosters, and you know, all of them were good, but then they didn't get playing time, and it became kind of a pain to juggle. After that, it was getting it down to size, and then you run into, well, do I have enough players to cover if this person goes down or if this person goes down? And I think if we go to the depth chart here and we look, we're doing okay. We got Traore, Ruiz, Sula, and Matosevic up top at the strikers. Yada, Matano, and Zelik as the advanced midfielders. Sula can also play there. Campos is going to get some playing time as well. My midfield is solid. You know, I got Bruni Majetchak. What's his first name? Eriks. Igor and Rochi as my midfielders. My defensive back four are solid as well. Mahmoud's starting ahead of Nunez, who's actually starting on the right, or who's actually swapping out on the right with Rusev. Gini is going to be switching out with Mace. Worrell dislocated his shoulder or got injured. What did he do? He did something. Sports hernia. Oh, he did that a couple weeks ago, so he'll be back soon. So I have a nice rotation set up. Nedelik has 3 stars in the goal. Raboui was 3 stars there last year. So something tells me we're not finishing 10th this year. I'd be okay with finishing 15th. So I will have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see what happens there. So if we do stay this season, though, the board is going to have to start spending money. They're not going to have a choice. We're going to have to expand the stadium. The other thing is there have been rumors of a takeover. Part of me says, yeah, that'd be great because maybe the new people will let me spend money. The other part of me says that might not be so great. So we shall have to wait and find out. I'd be interested in your feedback on the transfer window. If you know any of these players and how well they perform, let me know if I made good pickups. Let me know if I made bad pickups. Let me know if you think I overpaid for some of the guys I did pick up. Let me know if the people I let go were worth it or not. Losing Valentin that way was completely my fault. I completely spaced that his release clause was that low, and I should have signed him to a new contract with a higher release clause. That said, I think we were okay. We spent 15 million euros. We made 1.4, something like that. Yeah, we spent 15 million euros. We made 4 million euros. So, yeah, we're 11 million in the hole. But you know what? I think as a whole, we didn't get any worse. And I think the potential there, especially with guys like Mahmoud and Campos and Matondo, we did get better, however incrementally. And this is kind of that point in the save where the improvements are going to be a lot more incremental just because of the level of competition we're facing and resources available to us. And I am perfectly fine with that. If you did like what you see and heard, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, questions, criticism, comments, leave those down below. I will answer those as fast as I can. My name's FM20.